Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tent of Abraham. I'm Tamir Kreisman from Jerusalem, Israel, and these are the Secrets of Torah, Part 1. Although I have fallen, I will rise. So we're going to get right into it. This is another necessity for bringing the redemption swiftly and through mercy. Do not forget our mission. This is what we are doing. Each one of us is a component. You must understand everything we're learning here. Everything that we're learning here in the Tent of Abraham, it's all the secrets of Torah. As we have discussed many times, there is the Pardes. These are the 4 layers of learning. Okay, Pardes, the Hebrew means orchard, like the Ramak's book, Pardes Rimonim, right here. Pardes Rimonim, I don't know if you could see, but yeah. Anyway, why Pardes? Because trees are higher than you think. Not to mention the tree of life, which is the Torah, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is necessary to go through in order to get to the tree of life. This is this world, right? The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil were actually the same tree, where the tree of life was on the inner side and the klipa was the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? That's why all this thing, everything that latches on to the Torah, that calls the Torah old, and here's something new right on top, that is a tree of knowledge of good and evil. By default, you eat from that, you are deceived. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so of course, men are also likened to trees of the field. Why rimonim? Pomegranates. In addition to the verses of Song of Songs, the rimon, the pomegranate, has many sweet seeds inside, which is likened to the mitzvot of the Torah and the good deeds that we do with them. Now, just a quick recap. There are 4 letters in the word Pardes, and here's the Sefer Zohar. All this is Kabbalah. There's a lot of Kabbalah books, but the Zohar is the main one. Again, there's also Sefer Yetzirah, but we'll get to that soon. So you have the Shivat HaMinim over here, the 7 species of the land, and the Rimon is right over there in the center. Okay, so what does Pardes stand for? Why is it called Pardes? Pei, Resh, Daled, Samech. Pardes, Pei, first letter. Pei stands for the pshat, the simple text that you read in Hebrew. If you're reading it in English, you're not even getting to the level of the Pei, okay? Because as we see, that's why we're here. We learn the Hebrew, and it's a completely different meaning, or it has 12 different meanings, as it might have one potential understanding in English. And that leads to something else and something else. That's why I always encourage you, learn Hebrew, learn Hebrew, learn Hebrew. And then there's modern day Hebrew, and then there's biblical Hebrew. But again, that's why I am here. Okay. The next letter in Pardes is the Resh. Stands for Remez. Remez is a hint. Hints, Remazim fall under numerical values, Gematria, right? Or the interchangeable letters, and so on. Deeper look, right? Then we have the Daled, which is the Drash. What is the Drash? The backstories behind the scenes that we don't get directly in the written text, okay? All the extra biblical texts. And again, if there was, the Tanakh is just the 24 books of the Tanakh. But if you had all the extra biblical text, it would be a never-ending book. Nevertheless, that helps us understand. But the Tanakh is the core. And finally, we conclude with Samech, which is Sod. Yain. Yain. Wine. And Nichnas Yain Yatza Sod. It says this in Mishlei and Proverbs. Yain is also the gematria of 70, right? So, Samech, Sod. And that is all Kabbalah. Right? That's all Kabbalah. It's all completely higher. It's everything above everything on a different level. Also known as Torah Hasod, the secrets of Torah, like we're learning today and every day. So each level that you ascend to, from the Pshat, the Remez, the Drash, and the Sod, is not actually an ascension per se. Don't think of it as a ladder or a level necessarily, but rather it's an internal realm. You're getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, right? Because the pshat, you could just see it. Anyway, we'll discuss. I get ahead of my own self. It's very strange. I don't know, but here we are. Okay, so this is why it's called the Razei HaTorah, the hidden Torah, because it's all within. It's not that, oh, it's so high I can't reach it. No. What did Deuteronomy say? It's right here. It's not in the Shemaim, it's not in the heavens, it's not across the sea, it's right here, it's close, it's inside you. Bekir bechem. That's why we have to always look within and not outward. It's all right there. So just like the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life, like we said, they're one and the same, but the tree of knowledge, like we said, also is the klipa, is the shell, the husk, the outer part of the tree, while the tree of life is the essence, and that is within. So is the Pardes. The Pshat is something that anyone who knows how to read, you can read it and have a very basic understanding. Abraham went there, Isaac said that, Jacob did this, and so on and so forth. Wonderful stories, aren't they? Okay, but obviously we've learned that the Torah is so much more than stories. But the deeper you go, you have an understanding to this already basic understanding, and entire worlds open up that you couldn't have even begun to imagine before. Again, you don't get this when you read the plain text, let alone in English. Your ideas are very limited to what you have right there. But now let me give you everything else to fill that thing up. You might have like little dots here, but you're not looking at the entire picture, and that's what the whole Pardes is. And you need all four elements in order to have that understanding. Our sages liken these levels to that of the body. Okay? You have clothes on the outside for the world to see. You have the body itself, the skin that is covered by the clothes. Underneath the skin, you have the beating heart. And under that, you actually have the essence and the life source of the heart itself, the very reason for everything, and that is the soul. So it's like the guf, the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama. You could also liken it to that. And under that, okay, under under everything, that's really that's the truth, basically. Not to say that on the outer levels are untrue, but they all lead to something more. Now, the secrets of Torah are equivalent to the soul of the Torah, which through it we are able to understand all things within our realm and in all of this reality. And when Mashiach comes, everything will flip on its head. And this is really the cool part. The Pshat is the only thing that will be needed in order to understand the Torah. So think about it, just like this, right? We've learned, every letter has a meaning because every letter is made up of other letters. So every letter is made up of a letter, made up of other letters, and so on and so forth. So let's say you have a word, right? Just one word. Let's say if you open up a Torah, a Chumash with Rashi, okay? Just in the word Bereshit, the first letter in the beginning, or as it's translated, but at first actually, you'll see there's 10, 15 pages of commentary. It is the word most commented on in the entire Torah. Why did it start with the bet? Why didn't it start with the aleph? What does this mean? What does that mean? Breaking up the word Bereshit and so on and so forth. That's what Tikkunei Zohar is all about. So reading that word, that's the pshat. But once you go in there and you have that understanding, it opens up something that is bigger than we can comprehend. So in the Torah, when we read the pshat, we're going to already have the understanding of all the sod within the pshat. Because the pshat itself, that, again, it's just the beginning part. That's why Rashi is the most common commentator and the most popular commentator to everything we learn from the Torah, the Mishnah, and the Talmud, right? Now, why do people use Rashi? Because Rashi gets right to it. Now, just because Rashi translates the Pshat does not mean that he does not know Sod. In order for Rashi to give you, what does this mean? It means two words. That's it. That's it. Where is all this grand explanation? He got the grand explanation. He knows all these secrets, but you're not going to understand it. And so he takes all those huge secrets and then brings it in. Like we say, we dumb it down. Here's what you need to know in order to move on. Once you get deeper and deeper and deeper, then you'll understand the greatness of Rashi. Because he's so simple, that's how great it is. Chas v'shalom is not simple, but you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so the understanding in our minds and souls is what is going to actually be open to receive all these things in the time of Mashiach while just reading the basic Torah. In fact, we're going to be learning, when you open up the actual Torah scroll, there are points and crowns and different dots on top of the letters, we're going to be learning those. We are going to be taught about the spaces in between the letters of the Torah. Everything is going to open up. That's the Torah. Again, it's the same Torah. We're the ones that are going to change to be able to receive what is to come. So it's not a new Torah. So the more we learn now, the more we will get when it's actually taught to us. Rabbi Ginsburg of Chabad, who is arguably one of the greatest spiritual leaders in this generation right now, said a few short years ago something unprecedented. He said that now is the time to teach Torah to the Gentiles, but not only plain text Torah. Mishnah, Talmud, Halacha, Musar. Musar is ethics, right? The Pshat, the Remez, the Drash, and the Sod. What, teach Gentiles the secret of the Torah? We're not allowed to do that. If Gdol Ador says you can do it, and again he says it publicly, YouTube, Rabbi Ginsburg teaching Torah to Gentiles, he says it right there openly and no one can dispute that. Why did he say this? For what purpose would he call upon Jews to teach the Gentiles our secrets that up until that point have been absolutely prohibited? How could this happen? Because as the spiritual leader of the generation, he knows things that we don't. And I believe that he felt the same shift that some of us did. Because if it wasn't for his decree, and he has the authority to decree, he would not be doing what we are doing. We would not be doing what we are doing here today. I would not be able to be teaching you these things. So you see, we are to prepare this generation for the coming of Mashiach, calling out all those lost sparks, hey guys, who need to come in, and all the Noahides who feel like they don't belong anywhere, and all the Jews who need to assume responsibility and to start acting like Jews. Judah was meant to lead, so lead. And by doing all of this, we each play our part, fulfilling our role towards the final redemption. In Re'ah Mehemana from Parashat Mishpatim 114a, this is, as we said, a part of the Zohar that Moses and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai are conversing. Sometimes it says, and this is now Re'ah Mehemana, okay, the faithful shepherd. These are the rabbi's words to Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rashbi is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He's this guy. He wrote the Zohar. I mean, he and his friends, but it's all his words. While the Erev Rav were making the golden calf, your bride, speaking to Moses, your bride had fallen. Who was Moses' bride? We said it was the Shechina. Now, we have discussed this before, but just as a reminder, again, because now we are actually talking about the secrets of Torah, this lesson is going to be spent really explaining the basic concept because we need to be moving forward. I know we've done it in the past, but these are new times and it's always good to get a refresher. So, here's how it goes. Spiritually speaking, Moses married the Shechina. This was symbolized at the burning bush when he was told to remove both his shoes. A shoe in Hebrew is called na'al. Na'al, which na'al or na'ul, it means lock, fasten, or secure. The word man'ul in Hebrew means an actual lock. Like lock your locker. Ani noel et ha'aron im man'ul. Ani noel, I lock the aron, the ark, let's say, im man'ul, with a lock. So na'alaim, our shoes are actually called locks, right? And at the end of Yom Kippur, for instance, right before we close the ark, the final prayer is called Tfilat Ne'ilah. Tfilah is the prayer of Ne'ilah, of that seals your decree. Why? Because, okay, here we go. Now it's sealed. Now we still have a chance to change it until Hoshana Rabbah, the decree. But that is when you really pray and cry before the ark. And when the ark closes, boom. It's like you feel like these huge doors are, boom, closed. And now the judgments are coming out. The decrees are coming out for that year. So the concept of a shoe of na'al also keeps you, us, me, na'ul, locked and fastened to this world. Back in the day, when one would get married, they would remove their shoe as a sign of commitment, or an agreement that they have. You can see this in the book of Ruth. This is how Boaz took her as a wife, right? It says, and he removed his shoe in front of witnesses. You remove the shoe, you remove the na'al, or I'm locking you into this agreement right now. Moses, however, was told to remove both shoes. Why? Because from that moment, and again, that means he is no longer locked into this world, and that's what happened from that moment. From that time, burning bush on Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, he was sent and then they came back there, right? That was the spot. That was the sweet spot. He was fully united. From that time, he was fully united with the Shechina in every sense of the spiritual word, so much so that he had not united with his own wife from that point forward. That was it for him and her. That's why she was not there. It says, he was barely man from waist up. Spiritually speaking, everybody got to take it easy over there. As we had learned, the Shechina is exclusively with Israel, period. All 600,000 of them. And Moses was equal to all of the Shechina. Remember, Moses was the one that came with the Shechina and put it upon Israel. That's how he communicated with God directly, anytime, all the time. All the other prophets, all our sages, all our forefathers, they had to be sleeping or in a trance. It says he came in a dream, he came in a vision. Abraham saw the three angels in his mind's eye. This was what it says in the Targum. And Daniel had visions of the night. Ezekiel was taken in visions, you understand? So they had Gad the seer, Jose, to see something afar. Anyway, none of them were fully conscious and here. Moses had a conversation openly with God through the Shechina, just like I'm speaking to you right now. It says, Leben Adam lechavera, openly. He didn't tremble, and he was completely in this world, yet he was not. So again, no one before or since has ever been on this level, and no one will be on that level of prophecy that Moses had. Even Mashiach ben David is going to be slightly above the wisdom of Solomon, which is unheard of, and slightly below the prophecy of Moses. Because God said, Lo kam navi kemoshe. A prophet like Moses will never arise. Again, this is not to take away from Mashiach ben David. Okay, Mashiach ben Yosef is a little bit lower. It says Mashiach ben David can see and understand what's happening. Mashiach ben Yosef can hear what's happening. But again, they work together. There's no strife here. This is the whole thing. It's Israel and Yehudah coming together and like forming a perfect alliance. And Moshe Rabbeinu, who received the Torah, who went up and fought those battles with all those angels and bested everyone, got the Torah. And he's going to be the one to instill the Torah on them. And through them, they're going to instill the Torah into the people. Everyone has their own job. And again, we'll see Moshe, he went and then he's coming back. Does it mean he's Mashiach? No. Moshe is not Mashiach. Moshe is Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, he was the first Redeemer and he's coming as the last Redeemer, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's Mashiach, okay? We have more than one person for every job. Yeah. Okay, so why one shoe? Why one shoe, let's say, why one shoe in the book of Joshua, right? Joshua was spoken to the angel before they went into Jericho. Are you with us or against us? No. I am, Malach Tzavot Hashem. So he says, remove one shoe. Why does he say one shoe? Because Joshua was not on the level of Moses. He was still uniting with his wife. So he's like, I'm sort of united with the Shechina, but also with my wife, right? This is why one shoe. Only Moshe was two shoes. That's it. Now the Rashbi says to Moshe, right? Going back. This was the explanation of the bride of Moshe, if you will. While the Erev Rav were making the golden calf, your bride, your bride had fallen, meaning the Shechina, as it is written in Exodus 32:19, and he flung the tablets from his hands, shattering them on the foot of the mountain, right? Now it came to pass when he drew closer to the camp and he saw the calf and the dances that Moses' anger was kindled, and that's it. It's gone, right? And it was also told to you in Exodus 32:7, go, descend. When God told Moshe, go, descend, lech, red. Right? Lech lecha, lech, red, go. You're about to drop many, many spiritual levels. because of your people. Who's your people? The Erev Rav, not God's people, your people. At that point, it was hinted at your descent in the fourth exile, the Rashbi tells Moses. Descend because your only daughter has fallen, as it is written in Amos 5:2. The virgin of Israel has fallen and shall not continue to rise. We, of course, read it differently. Nafla lo tosif kum betulat Israel. Nafla lo tosif. She has fallen, but she will not continue to fall. Arise, virgin of Israel. We already had a class on that one. And when you descend, she will rise upon you, and that is the Torah which has been revealed through you. This is when Moshe comes back. Now, in the book of the Gra called Yahel-O, he said, in the fourth exile, which is Edom, we are currently in Galut Edom right now, and we are dealing with them, or God is dealing with them, and don't worry, they will be dealt with. The Torah scholars are even more in exile, as written in Masechet Sotah. Those that fear sin will be shunned, and those who go against evil will be deemed insane. All are included in the exile. When God told Moses, Lech, go, he spoke of the fourth exile to which Moses would have to endure because he broke the first tablets. But at the end of this final exile, the original Torah that Moses brought, because we got the second version, don't forget, and Moses will come with the two Messiahs and teach it to Israel. Now, have you ever wondered about that? The second tablets were not the same as the first, not in form, not in content. You bring the tablets, I'll write on them. We got exactly what we needed for the state that we were in. Okay? This is identical to Genesis 3:22. Listen, now the Lord said, behold, man has become like one of us, having the ability of knowing good and evil. In other words, there was sin, and they were knee-deep, at least, in the tree of knowledge and good and evil. And now, lest he stretch forth his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat it and live forever, meaning in that fallen state. If Adam would have taken from the tree of life, which was, those were the original tablets that Moses had, he would have stayed fallen forever. The world would not be able to rectify. So when Moses saw the state of Israel, the fallen state of Israel, golden calf, sin and everything, idolatry, when they were at the state of Adam before the sin. Again, they had lights coming out of their eyes. Death was withheld from the world. Everything was on pause. That was supposed to be that moment. When he comes down with the tablets, that's it. That's the full Geulah. But Moses saw, after this, they cannot get the original. They cannot eat from the tree of life. Otherwise, boom, no more world. So what did he do? He essentially took the choice out of their hands, given their fallen state, and he had to go with plan B, the second tablets, the ones with all the curses as well, which is why the first one didn't have any curses. It was just, okay, here we go. Here's what's happening. Yep, we get it. The second one, okay, here's your blessings, here's your curses. And you have to say amen to them both because they come, it's a package deal. And we needed those curses to rectify even what happened over there. And why? Erev Rav. God will deal with them as well. Okay, so because of time, at that time, like we said, death was completely suspended. Think of like a snow globe. Everything was just watching them, waiting. Death was suspended, and if they would have received those tablets in their state, they would have lived forever in that state, and the world would be destroyed. However, in Tikunei Zohar Chadash, it says, and it is the tree of life to which it is said of it in Exodus 15:25. So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord instructed him concerning a piece of wood. Terrible translation, which he cast into the water, and the water became sweet. There he gave them a statute and an ordinance, and there he tested them. So it says not concerning a piece of wood, but rather etz, tree. Okay, Vaitzak el Hashem, vayohu Hashem etz. Now etz in modern day Hebrew is wood, and whatnot. But etz means an actual tree, i.e. take the tree of life, throw it in the water, turn those bitter waters sweet. That is the original Torah that was supposed to come there with all the blessings without the curses. Okay? So not concerning a piece of wood, but rather a tree. The waters that became sweet, what were those bitter waters? That was the oral Torah, because they came to Marah, but they could not drink the water from Marah because it was bitter. Therefore, it was named Marah. Just as it had been established in Exodus 1:14, and they embittered their lives with hard labor. Even at least the English got it here. You have bitter, embittered, vayemariru, mar, marom, maror. Like Anarina discussed, right now we are in the month of Cheshvan. Cheshvan is called Mar Cheshvan. Why is it called Mar? Why is it called bitter Cheshvan? Because there are no happy holidays in this month. The flood started in this month. Actually, it says that Noach entered the ark on the 10th, which is going to be, I believe, this Shabbat Parashat Lech Lecha. And on the 17th, that's where the flood began. So nothing good began in this month. That's why it's called bitter. However, the temple is going to be built during this time in the future, and we will turn the Mar, which is Mem Resh, into Ram. We're going to reverse the letters. Ram means exalted. Ram al kol goyim Adonai. Exalted. That's what that means. So anyway, we're going to turn Mar Cheshvan into Ram Cheshvan. So let us begin right now in our focus. This month is a good month. God cleansed the earth with water. You with me? Okay. You can always pause and rewind. Let us continue. Okay, so the waters became sweet. Those were the bitter waters of the oral Torah, which became sweet. And all that embitterment continues. Going back to Exodus 1:14, and they embittered their lives with hard labor, with clay and with bricks and with all kinds of labor in the fields. All their work that they had worked with them with backbreaking labor. We've discussed exactly the kind of manipulation that was going on over there as what we see in the world today. It wasn't necessarily physical labor. It was included in there, but it was more psychological. They did not even know that they were enslaved, just like the world today. You don't know that you are enslaved. You think you are free, but you are not. The word kasha, vayimeru et chaim ba'avoda kasha, with hard labor. Kasha means hard or extremely difficult, is also the root word of kushia, which means question. Right? You're going to have it's in Aramaic, right? It's like, I got a kasha. All the Ashkenazi rabbis, when they ask a kushia, if you learn Talmud or Zohar in Aramaic, that's what you're going to say. If I have a question, I have a kushia, but not just a question like, Rabbi, can I ask you a question? Can I go to the bathroom? No, a kushia is something that's going to make you toil and think and break your brain over what God is trying to say. So when one of the sages brings forth a question, primarily regarding the halachot of the written Torah, i.e. the oral law, then they have a kushia. And it's said that kushia and learning Talmud is bitter because you actually have to struggle. Try learning Talmud for 8 hours a day. There was a period in my life that I did that. I was more exhausted than when I was in the army and they kept me on my feet for 20 hours a day. Your brain is just, you can't handle it anymore. I was exhausted. Seriously, because it's a mental and a spiritual exhaustion as opposed to just a physical thing. Okay, but you condition yourself, and that's why you got people learning Talmud, 20 hours a day. Yeah, for real. Okay, so this is what a kushia is. This is the hardness. So what has this got to do with the Egyptians? So what the Egyptians were doing to Israel, and again, this is all high stuff. It was making them question their own way of life, their own halacha, halicha. Remember the halacha of how we live? Halacha comes from the word halicha. This is what Eliyahu said. Don't call it halachot, ela halichot. The walk, your way of life is according to the questions of how God wants us to live. 613 commands. What did he mean by this? What is the best way for me to perform this? Don't forget who gave us these commands. It's not like, so meticulous. Have you read the Torah? Is God not meticulous, and does everything not have a reason? That's why you can't dismiss anything. Okay, so they made Israel over there question their own way of life, their own walk. They made them doubt. the same way of life that they learned from their father Yaakov, who sent forth his son Judah to build houses of study in the end of the book of Genesis. Once the Torah, and particularly the halachot, the oral Torah, also known as halichot, as we said, the walk according to Elijah the prophet, are lost, once all this is lost, Israel will fall into a state of complete disarray. Thank you. Not even knowing that they are slaves to the system. Exactly. And I mean exactly like this day and age. Today, people don't even know what's what. And that's why, for instance, all the decrees that the government is giving today and all these labels that they're posting with, for instance, I'll give you an example. Calling something a plague, from Torah perspective, biblically speaking, is when 5,000 plus people die a day in Israel. That is considered a plague. That's what happened in the time of David. Over 5,000 people a day, or 5,000 people a day exactly, died every single day. That's a plague. Okay? Labeling something and people thinking that that's what it's wrong. It's a lie. If people actually learn Torah, almost the basics of Torah, they would know that everything that everybody's selling you is a lie. If you really learned the halachot, like we said in the last teaching, warning you about false teachers and people who call themselves rabbi, if you actually learned the halachot, you will see, wait a minute, you're not supposed to do that or that or that. Why are you going against the word of God? What's going on here? Are you really a rabbi? Come on now. You have to educate yourself, right? Okay, that's why it's one thing to teach somebody who doesn't know anything. That's easy. Easily you could get a big following and be very popular. But once those people start becoming wise and learning for themselves, watch how quickly you get shunned and thrown out of these organizations. Once you start questioning those in charge, and then you know that the whole organization is a cult or it's a money grab or whatever. But anyway, you got to be smart, and that's why you got to learn, because this is exactly what happened to Israel in Egypt. And now we have already repeated, we are currently in the same situation, doing the same things, and here we are trying to get out of it. That's why I say learn for yourself. And be very wary who you learn from. So during that time it was said, back then in the desert, Numbers 20:11, when an abundance of water gushed forth and the congregation and their livestock drank. When the tree of life will be revealed in the last generation, coming up, which you, Moses, are going to rise among them, you will do all this again properly, because then they will be ready to receive it. You're going to bring the original tablets with the original plan over there, but again, they were not ready then. Obviously, they were not ready because they fell into that sin. God's going to do the cleansing right now again, and then Moshe is going to come again and bring the original tablets. Now, and death will be suspended. All the things that we read in the prophets. What was is what will be. Oh, look. Ecclesiastes 1:9. Remember this. What has been is what will be. Ma shehaya hu sheyeh, u'ma shena'asa hu sheyaseh, ve'en kol chadash tachat hashemesh. Ma shehaya hu sheyeh, what has been. That's Moses. Ma, mem he, mem from Moshe. Shehaya, shin from Moshe. Who? Moshe. Mem, shin, hey. Moshe, shehiyeh. Moses, who was, will be again. And what was done by him, what has been done, is what will be done. He will do it again. There's nothing new under the sun. Do you understand? Ecclesiastes 1:9. The first three words in Hebrew, the first letters of those three words spell out Moshe. This is coming from the Zohar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Moses, he's coming back, baby, and he's doing it right. And it's not that he's doing it right, he's doing it again. We're the ones that got to get right. Now, we're going to the Graz commentary in regard to these things. The Graz commentary there, he says regarding the words, and this is how I will be known to you. The tree of life is the hidden. This is the Kabbalah, lekabel. Kabbalah is to lekabel, to receive. Are you able to receive? You could pour out all these wonderful things, but if you are not prepared, it means nothing. It could even do damage. Okay? So the tree of life is the hidden receiving Kabbalah of Torah until it will be revealed. It's going to be hidden until it's going to be revealed, and then everyone can see it clearly. Meaning the tree of life is the supernal tree of life, and he goes on, and Sefer HaZohar, the Zohar, is its correction in our realm. It was uncovered. In other words, the hidden Torah that Moshe originally brought down is being revealed through Sefer HaZohar. And so the book of Zohar will be revealed to Ba'alei Torah. Now, Ba'alei Torah, I wrote Torah scholars, but how do you say about Torah? Someone who studies Torah and lives according to the Torah, meaning halachot. Those people are called Ba'alei Torah. I'm working on becoming a Ba'al Torah. Okay? Someone who lives according to the Torah and constantly seeks it out. Again, I'm not on that level, but I'm doing my best to get there. We can only do the best that we can do, but we have to keep moving. That's what it is. Okay? I'm being 100% transparent with you. Every day, I try more. I fall, I get up. I fall, I get up. We have to keep moving. Really, that's what counts. Like we said, God doesn't necessarily pay you per mission complete, but rather how much time and effort you put into it. God knows. So this is the revelation of Moses. Okay? What was the message that he was really going to bring down to the people? So again, the Zohar will be revealed to Ba'alei Torah. As Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe, our rabbi, the first rabbi and the greatest, is manifested in every generation through the Ba'alei Torah, because every time we learn Torah, it's only in the merit of Moses. And there's your connection to the tree of life. Moshe had the tree of life, brought it to the people, okay? That one didn't work, okay, so now we're going to have to work through the tree of knowledge of good and evil to get to the tree of life. So it says, Etz chaim hi lamachazikim ba. It's the tree of life for those who grasp onto it. You have to grasp through the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Like we said, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Moses, and Aaron, and David, and Yosef, and Shlomo, all of them, all the great ones, they all ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They had to, because after Adam did it, everyone has to. We are born into it. They ate it, and it did not affect them like that. Like I said, Abraham's walk was unchanged. Rich or poor, important or unimportant, on the run or a king of the whole world. His walk with God was never changing. Believe me, he had the tree of knowledge of good and evil all the time. It's yes money, it's no money. Okay? It's yes respect, it's no respect. It's life, it's death. It's here's everything, now give me everything. Straight line, doesn't matter. That's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. In other words, it's life and all its uncomfortable tragedies along with all its beautiful, glorious miracles. Everything mishmash together. We are called to make a separation. We're called to accept everything and know that it is all part of the same tree. And ultimately, if we can make it through that, we get to the tree of life. Okay. Where were we? So through Moshe, this is our connection to the tree of life. Through learning Torah, thank you very much, Moshe Rabbeinu, for going up and bringing down the Torah to begin with. So he reiterates, the exit from the galut, from the exile, is entirely dependent upon the Torah of Moses, meaning what's the Torah of Moses? The original Torah of Moses. It is the hidden, which will be fully revealed before the coming of Mashiach, and that is the wisdom of truth. You see, the Zohar is not a separate book. I mean, it is a separate book, but it goes according to the Parasha, the Parashat Shavua. It goes according to the 5 books of Moses. Within those 5 books, it goes according to the Parasha. They discuss the prophets, they discuss the Ketuvim and everything. They discuss the Talmud, they discuss different halachot, but they open up realms and worlds, all coming from the 5 books of Moses. That's all. That's the Torah. Torat Moshe is the 5 books of Moses. Learn that. You're learning the Torah of Moses, but will you understand? Will it be revealed? That's done because of the Zohar. There's nothing new under the sun, Solomon said. 5 books of Moses, that's where it's at. And he also said in the same verse that what was, which is Moses, is who will be again. So, because again, we all need that opportunity to complete our work. Moshe started some, he's going to complete it. So think about it like this. Why have we been given the okay by the spiritual leader of the generation to teach the secrets of Torah to the Gentiles? Because some of you out there, I say some of you, I don't know, could be all of you, that'd be great, but it's likely not all of you, because we are a small nation, small in number, we always were, and we always will be, even in the end of days. There will be Israel, and the rest of the nations that support Israel who will remain. That's it. Everyone's going to live well, okay? But you're more likely not of Israel than you, in other words, a Noahide, hopefully Noahide and no idolatry, than a lost triber. Okay, so right now, some of you out there are of the 10 lost tribes, which makes you Israel, and through learning the hidden, your soul is going to pull you back to where you belong, as we read in Genesis 49:10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, the Jews, nor the student of the law, the halachot, from between his feet. Anyone who learns actual halachot, how do I live, what is correct, what is not, why do I not turn on lights or technology on Shabbat? Until Shiloh comes, Shiloh is Moshe. Shiloh is this numerical value of Moshe. And to him will be the gathering of peoples, as we are currently learning. Right here, 49:10 says exactly the plan of what's going to happen, done through Judah. Meaning that if you don't follow through, then you are not of Israel. This is the bottom line. I say this again because it's important still. And this is time sensitive because when Mashiach comes, Israel does not accept new converts, because then Mashiach's already here. Everyone who was supposed to be in already came in. Everyone who was not, was not. That's it. Everything is as it should be. God doesn't make mistakes. So again, if you are called, move. And move now. Do not be comfortable. You don't have time. And if you realize, okay, I'm not called that much to move because clearly, the proof is in my actions or lack thereof, then accept as a Noahide, support Israel, and you're good. You got your 7 laws. Do that. We're also teaching about that. Only those who are called, of course. There are still plenty of righteous Noahides. Everyone has their place and everyone has their job. And this is where all are called to learn the secrets, just like it says in the preface of the Book of Formation, Sefer Yetzirah. If he learns and understands, good for him. But if he doesn't understand, he, meaning Israel, then he still receives credit for learning. For it is said in Joshua 1:8, this book of the Torah shall not leave your mouth, you shall meditate thereon day and night, in order that you observe to do. We discussed to do is the halichot, all that it is written in it. For then you will succeed in all your ways, and then you will prosper. It does not say you shall understand it day and night. There is no command to understand anything, as understanding is given from God. But it says to meditate, vehagita bo, to concentrate, as in walk this walk and have our lives integrated into Torah. Listen what I say. You're supposed to have your life integrated into Torah, and not as we do today, which is to integrate Torah in our lives. This is why everything is backwards. The Torah is everything. How do I live my life according to Torah? Not how do I fit the Torah into my already established life. You'll see that your life is very much not established. Tug on that string and see what happens. The whole thing is coming apart. Torah ain't got no strings to tug on. It's got deep roots. It's got a thick trunk and branches with fruit. It's immovable, unchangeable. That should be your foundation, and that let everything else wither away. We have to flip our lives upside down. It ain't easy to do. I'm telling you this right now. But it's the effort that you put in that matters, and that's what changes everything. Trust me on this one as well. Torah is our life, as is written in Deuteronomy 30:20. For that is your life and the length of your days. Ki hu chayecha ve'orach yamecha. In Tikkunei Zohar, number 30, it says, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the water. This is Genesis 1:2. Ve'ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim. What is the ruach? The ruach is also, it's a spirit, but also ruach is winds, is ruach. Ruach chazaka b'chutz, it's windy outside. So what is this ruach that is hovering over the face of the water? During the time of the exile, the Shechina descended upon Israel, those who deal in Torah, understanding or not. Those who do their best, those who at least try. We are called to try, like I said. Never called to succeed. That's not up to you. But then when you stand before God in the end, you'd be like, God, I tried my whole life. I'm a dummy. I couldn't get it. God's like, I see, I know. I see how much you tried, which is way more than the person who had all these natural talents of a photographic memory or a natural affinity to the Torah, or was born to Torah scholars and he did a little and had all this wonderful understanding. You're getting a bigger reward than him, even though he understood 1,000 times more than you. Why? Because you tried. You think God doesn't see? You think he doesn't know? Everything is being recorded. Try. And those are the individuals that the Shechina dwells among them. Try. And this spirit becomes a voice that says to those who have had the sleep pulled over their eyes and to those whose eyes are shut and their hearts are sealed, it says, awake and arise for the coming of the Shechina, because your heart is without understanding that she is among you in this hour. What does this mean? When I learn Zohar, do I feel the Shechina come upon me? I wish. I really wish. Of course I wish. I understand. No, I don't have that. I'm learning. I have incredible wisdom. It's amazing. But when the Shechina comes upon you, it's a whole nother story. The Shechina is what dwelt in the tent of meeting. The Shechina is what was in the Holy of Holies. The Shechina is what we will all be able to see, to perceive, to understand at this time, at the time of the end, especially to those who learn now the secrets of Torah. The Shechina is what connected Moses directly with God, unfiltered. And every single Ben Torah has an opportunity for that. So the Zohar continues. The secret is in Isaiah 40 verse 6 that says, a voice that says, call. Kol omer kra. Right? And the verses then says, what shall I call? Right? But we'll get to that. So the voice says, call. And to whom does she call? Job 5:1. Now call. Will anyone answer you? To which the Holy One will turn. To which of the holy ones will you turn? Kerana hayesh onecha, anyone answering you? Ve'el mi mikodshim tifne, to which of the holy ones will you turn? Meaning all the people learning, but there's still no understanding. And she said, what shall I call? Going back to the verse in Isaiah 40 verse 6, what shall I call? All flesh is grass, and all its kindness is like the blossom of the field. All the kindness that they do. What is the deal of people learning Torah today without this deeper understanding or desire to know more? What is the danger of learning Torah for your own sake? What is the danger of learning Torah without understanding and of why you're doing it for the tikkun of the Shechina that we are now focusing our entire existence upon? All kindness that they do for their own sake. And even when they toil in the Torah, it is for their own sake. This is very dangerous. This is why we pray Torah lishma. It's in the morning prayers of that we are lasok b'divrei Torah, and we do it for the sake of the Torah, because God gave us a Torah, not for my own sake, the sake of my understanding. I'm studying Torah right now because I have a class to give, so I'm going to write this stuff down and get out. Every time I read the things that I've already read, I learn. I could do 10 times the amount of work, but I take out all the books from my library because one passage is, I could take, 20 books from there, and I'm getting new revelations, but I can't, revelations, new whatever. Okay, but I can't put everything in here, right? is difficult, but I get it. I don't share with you guys everything. You get a little bit, but it's all good. Okay, so they do this all for their own sake. And of that time, before the end, it is said in Psalms 78:39, he remembers that they are flesh, a spirit that goes away and does not return. What does this mean? That spirit that goes away and does not return in Psalm 78:39 is the spirit of Mashiach. Vayizkor ki basar hema ruach holech velo yashuv. Remember, people think Mashiach is not. Mashiach today doesn't know that he's Mashiach. When is he going to know that he's Mashiach? When God takes that spirit that we are going to be reading in Isaiah and puts it in him and go like, oh, yeah, okay. And then there are certain things that he has to do and certain tests that he has to pass in order to be recognized that he is Mashiach, okay? Up until this point, no one in the history of the world came even close. Now listen to this. And I'm going to first read this in Hebrew so you understand the gravity. Oy lahem, you got that? Oy lahem. לאותם הגורמים שילך משיח מן העולם ולא ישוב לעולם, שהרי אלו עושים את התורה יבשה ואינם רוצים להשתדל בחוכמת הקבלה. Woe to them, for those who cause the Messiah to leave the world and not to return, for these make the Torah dry and do not want to strive for the wisdom of the Kabbalah, of the Sod. Oy lahem shegormim aniyut וחרב וביזה ואבדון לעולם, וזו הרוח שמסתלקת, היא רוחו של משיח. כמו שנאמר, והיא רוח הקודש, והיא רוח חוכמה ובינה, רוח עצה, גבורה, רוח דעת ויראת השם. Woe to them who cause poverty and the sword and plunder and doom to the world. And this is the spirit that leaves. It is the spirit of Mashiach, as it is said in Isaiah 11:2. And the spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. A spirit of wisdom and understanding, a spirit of counsel and heroism, a spirit of knowledge and fear of the Lord. Who are these people? Oi to them. These are people that learn Torah for their own sake. These are people that don't even open up the Kabbalah books. These are people, and the people that would just open up the Kabbalah books for the same of their own knowledge and wisdom. You have to understand here, we're going to go through the stages. The Gra brings a few points on this matter that we just read. That sleep has closed their eyes, right? That we can't even perceive the Shechina is among us. Shira Shirim 5:2, where it says, I sleep, but my heart is awake, right? I sleep because of the oral law without the secrets of Torah. Ladies and gentlemen, understand what I'm saying. Do not dismiss the oral law. Again, if you are not a Jew, you can learn the oral law, but you cannot perform the oral law. That is specifically, that's disobedience. You have what you can do. It doesn't mean you can't learn the higher things with limited understanding. Again, it's the effort that you put in now will be revealed later on for you. It's all accredited, so don't worry about that. But you must add to the oral law the secrets of Torah, because everything is layer upon layer. You can't have the grand finale without anything to build it up, right? Without the oral law, you will not understand the most basic level of secrets, because these are your points of reference. Remember the Pardes? Pshat, the simple text that you read in Hebrew. Remez, the hints, the numerical values, the interchangeable letters and so on. The drash, the backstories and behind the scenes that we don't get directly in the written text. And the sod, the secrets. That is all Kabbalah, also known as Torat HaSod, the secrets of the Torah, or the secrets of Torah. Between the simple text and the secrets, those two levels, everything, that's the oral law. You have to build upon that, but you need the 4 levels. Otherwise, you are incomplete in this world. I'm speaking to Jews right now. Jews must learn these 4 levels. Gentiles do not need to learn these 4 levels because some are not relevant to you. But that's good that Jews are teaching you The right Jews are teaching you the right ways how to apply these things and what everything is based on. I am asleep because all I learn is oral Torah, but my heart is awake because it burns for the hidden secrets. The Gra continues, regarding the Shechina that is among you, yet your heart is sealed from understanding. Two things we must do, he says. Focus on the rectification of the Shechina within everything that we do. I hope we wrote that down the last few lessons, and this is what we are doing. Everything is for the rectification of the Shechina. We're helping God, we are helping Adam, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, we are helping Moses, we are helping Israel. We are helping everything right now, uniting HaKadosh Baruch Hu with his holy Shechina. First thing we focus on, rectifying the Shechina within everything that we do, and the second, to toil in the secrets of Torah. Because without toiling in the secrets of Torah, learn what you want. Not relevant. Not going to help. It's dry. Oy lahem, God says. In other words, you're actually keeping Mashiach away because you're not looking into that. Again, I only speak to Jews right now in this regard. Gentiles, sure, absolutely learn this. But the responsibility, if you don't, falls upon the head of the Jews. And this is said in Jeremiah 9:23. But let him that boasts exults in this, that he understands and knows me. Ki im bezot yitalel hamitalel haskel veyada oti, ki ani Hashem oseh chesed. Okay? Understand for the secrets of Torah, knows me to know that the Shechina is among you. And you can't know this without the proper learning, without the proper foundation, and the proper intention of why you're learning what it is that you're learning. Everything counts. Regarding you having a sealed heart, the Gra says, this is like learning Torah without wisdom, meaning without the proper education. Haskalah. Haskalah is education. Comes from sechel, mind. Without the proper education, what are you going to learn Torah? What are you going to learn any wisdom of Torah? This is like putting a 3-year-old into rocket science class, okay? They might be able to draw a rocket with their nice box of crayons, woo-woo, but again, don't expect anything more than that. Meaning that you can't just don't rush out now to get the Zohar and start reading, okay, or any other Kabbalah book and expect to understand anything. In fact, it's actually very dangerous, okay? This is why most of these books have not been translated. Look, I have the Zohar translated into Hebrew and English. This one is only Aramaic because it's everything compiled into one book. I brought this on now. I also have the Zohar in English, right? This is the translation directly to English, but look what it says on the cover. The first ever unabridged English translation with commentary. When I started reading this, I got this even before I got the Hebrew translation, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, okay, there's a whole lot of commentary. I don't trust this commentary. And then I don't even trust the translation. So I got the Zohar with translation into Hebrew, because I'm like, wait, that's not what it says in the Aramaic. And I made doubly sure in Hebrew. If you're gonna go for this, because again, as far as I know, this is the only English translation. It's a set of, 23 books. Be very, very careful, okay? Be very careful because the translation is not 100% and the commentary is not 100%. I saw there's the most ridiculous. The reason I shut those books is because it said something over there about Mashiach, something questionable that would actually really upset the Messianics and the Christian world. And the translator, the person who translated this, says, I disagree with what it says. In the Aramaic, he said, written in Aramaic, I disagree with what he says. He said that in English. At that point, so I go to my Hebrew Zohar, and I'm like, oh, yeah, of course he would disagree with that. Now I know what side he's on. But this is the same Zohar that they give to the Kabbalah Center. And any fool could pick it up and be like, oh, I'm learning Zohar. Oh, boy, wow. So again, be very careful. Be very, very careful. You need to learn halacha before you learn this. Okay? You're big boys and girls, you could do what you want, but I have to warn you, and that's what I'm doing. So, again, the one in English, it's not accurate. Some of these concepts also are simply not translatable or relatable unless you have a deeper understanding of Torah. If I sit down with a Jew today who has no background in Torah whatsoever, and I start reading Kabbalah to him, he will not understand a word that I'm saying. And even if I do study Kabbalah with someone who has a little bit of background in Torah, it's still going to be difficult for them to understand what I'm saying. Okay? It so happened that I was 40 years old when I opened the Zohar for the first time. I have plenty of other Kabbalah books around, but the Zohar itself, I happened to be 40. I don't know why or what happened, but when I remember even where I was. It was Shabbat, Parashat Bereshit. 2 weeks ago, how old am I? Oh my goodness, I'm old. 2 years ago is when I first picked up the Zohar. Up until that point, for some reason, I had this, every time I heard the name Zohar, it was like, I'm not interested in that. And I don't understand why. But then I was Shabbos in Zichron Yaakov. It's a beautiful place where my cousins live in the northern part of Israel. They had a Shabbos bar mitzvah over there. And it means the memory of Jacob. So Shabbat Bereshit, the memory of Jacob. And I picked up the Zohar and I happened to open up Zohar Parashat Noach. And I'm like, what? This is amazing. So that's really what started the whole thing for me with Zohar. And it actually says, for years now, remember how we discussed how scarce learning the Sefer HaZohar was, but now in the end of the day, as many people are, it says that you're not supposed to learn Zohar until you are over 40 years old, married, with at least 2 kids, and of course a lifetime worth of Torah. So what does this show? You don't necessarily have to be 40. I mean, the Ramchal passed away when he was 38. Rabbi Nachman from Breslov when he was 39. The Ari, 39. These guys knew Zohar backward and forward. They already were learning when they were, 10 years old, 15 years old. They were writing about it. It shows a certain stability that an individual has. But now, because the times have shifted, more people are now doing it, you understand? So some people said from half your life. What is half your life? How do you know how long you're supposed to live? If your complete life is according to David, who completed the 70 years, this is why we also have 70 tikkunim of the Zohar, and then 70 tikkunim of the last pasuk in the Ramchal, so half your life is 35, so technically when you're 35. But again, if you don't have a Torah background, and you do not understand halachot, and you are not grounded, you don't have something that actually grounds you, you're not going to get what's going on there. In fact, it's going to be very, very dangerous. Okay? Very, very dangerous. So, again, I can't stress this enough. Be careful. If you have questions, send me those emails. Okay? All right. So, let's let the Gra do the talking here. I'm sorry I went off, but again, you have to know these things. So, if you have no education, i.e. knowledge, how could you even recognize the Shechina, he says? As it said in Proverbs 3:6, know him in all your ways. Bechol darkecha da'ehu. Here's your knowledge. Proverbs 23:26, my son, give me your heart and let your eyes keep my ways. Tena beni libcha li ve'einecha idirchu tirtzona tirtzona. Your heart, give me your heart so you can properly be educated. First, give me your heart. Let me educate you. Then you need to acquire the proper knowledge, and then I will give you the understanding through Torah Tasod. Now, regarding the call, right, which says he who calls, or, a voice that calls. There is no one who answers the call, and this is preceding the coming of Mashiach, as written in Isaiah 63:5. And I looked, and there was no one helping. Regarding the spirit of Mashiach, this is the reason that Ruach Mashiach, the spirit of Mashiach, is not coming, because it is the spirit of wisdom, as written in the Idra Rabbah 102b. Idra Rabbah is it's a Kabbalistic compilation called The Big Room. Idra is a cheder in Aramaic, and Rabbah is big, and there's Idra Zuta. Zuta is small. Big room, small room. These are all realms, okay, in the heavenlies. When this wisdom is not being learned, it is being delayed, as written in The Faithful Shepherd, Rei Amahemana, regarding Daniel 12:3. And the wise will shine like the brightness of the sky, and those who bring the multitudes to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. We have already studied that who are these? The righteous that will bring V'amaskilim from Sechel, Yazhiru kezoar harakia. This is Hazoar, the book of Zohar, where we were told already that this is Moshe and the two Mashiachim, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef, who will bring the multitudes to righteousness. And so those who connect with these hidden secrets now, while we have the chance, will attach themselves to the hidden Torah of Moses. In the future, the near future, Israel will taste of the tree of life through the complete understanding of the Zohar, as they will be taken out of exile in mercy. Ifkon be min galuta berachme, just like what it says. Bischut hai sifra, because of this book, Ifkon min galuta berachame, they will be taken out of exile in rachamim, which is what we are doing here. As Elijah told the Rashbi and his friends, Rabbi, you and your friends have merited a great reward that will be given or revealed in the end of days. And for now, and he quotes Leviticus 25, 25:10, we'll read the whole verse. And you shall sanctify the 50th year, the Jubilee. This is the end. This is Mashiach comes, we build Beit HaMikdash, and proclaim freedom for the slaves. We are the slaves, everyone goes free throughout the land, throughout the world, for all who live on it, all those who remain on it. It shall be a Jubilee for you, and you shall return each man to his property. In other words, to your original place. And you shall return each man to his family. Again, I don't know what tribe I'm in, and I'll tell you something else. A lot of the Kohanim today, they're not, I'm not chas v'shalom knocking them, but you have to understand, 2,000 years ago, during the periods that the Romans were ruling in Israel, the Kohanim, the ruling class of the Kohanim and the Kohanim Gdolim, they were appointed. These people were not even from the family, right? You need to be from Mishpachat Tzadok, or so today it would be Tzadok or Kohen Tzadik, i.e. Katz. Anybody with the name Katz is short for Kohen Tzadik. So I know that my grandmother, on my mother's side, my mother's mother, her last name is Katz. So she comes from there. So I know that I have at least that part of a legitimate Kohen, running through me in my lineage, if you will. But as far as everybody else, no one knows what tribe exactly they're from. When Mashiach comes, Mashiach will say, you're from Reuben, you're from Shimon, you're from Judah, you're from Issachar, and everyone's got to go to their land. Where's everyone going? Where Joshua separated all the tribes back when they crossed over. Everyone is still working together. Remember, we need to have the united kingdom of Israel. So this is what Eliyahu is telling Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. You guys have such an amazing reward coming to you because of the book of Zohar in the end of days. But right now, everybody, you guys go chill, just like the angel Gabriel told Daniel. You close this book, seal it up, you go chill, you will rise to Ketz Hayamin, to the end of the right, where you will rise and you will be rewarded. So we understand from this that the time of the Zohar, that from the time the Zohar was written, which was about 2,000 years ago, it would be concealed for a while. Now, it has been learned over the years, as we discussed, but it was never taught publicly. It began to resurface in Sfat around 5,000 years ago, and it slowly became available to all. But more so, I think, in the last 20 years, even less, 10, 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, that people are learning this, that it's actually being printed out like crazy and anyone can learn it without the preconceived notions of, oh, you can't learn it because you're not over 40, you're not this. Times have changed, Torah hasn't, but these are prophecies and they're coming into fruition right now. So we discussed in previous classes, in particular from the works of the Ben Ish Chai, right, who wrote this 150 years ago, in the teaching titled Joy, look it up, that in the last generation, right now, more people will be learning Zohar than at any point in history. This is true, and he based this over what was written 2,000 years ago, over what was written in the book of Daniel, over what was written in Deuteronomy. Everything, it's all connected. Nothing negates anything. Until this time, who was learning the Zohar? It was the angels themselves who enjoyed the Zohar. Remember, the angels had the Torah before they had to give it to Moshe Rabbeinu. But from the time that the Rashbi wrote the Zohar and it was compiled until it was made publicly available to all of Israel, until it was released from heaven, if you will, the angels were enjoying this. Because again, the angels, the Torah was not given to them. So when they actually glean from this light, because this is the light of the Torah, God's word and God are one. This is above the angels. They're like, whoa. Okay. So the angels themselves get to enjoy the Zohar up until this time because it has the secrets of the Torah, i.e. the first Torah that Moses brought to the world, as it could have only been unlocked by our hands. But when the last generation has arrived, and all those who toil with the secrets of Torah through their study and meditation, perseverance and focus, doing it properly, they will bring Mashiach. And then, as is written in Isaiah 11:9, they shall neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mount, for the land shall be full of knowledge of the Lord, as waters cover the seabed, right? Ki mal'ah ha'aretz de'ah, knowing God. And this knowledge, meaning that everyone learning the Zohar is the land filling up with knowledge like water. And this is a very strong indication of Mashiach's imminent arrival. And so, my friends, if you have any concerns about learning Kabbalah, please rest easy, okay? Because for the past 3 years, we have been incorporating all 4 levels of the Torah, the full Pardes, into our teachings. And all the Parasha teachings that I used to do, you add all 4 levels in that. You are learning this and you are not even aware, but I give you all the 4 levels. You're not just jumping to the Sod, but this is how you understand, because we're going from the Pshat, the Remez, the Drash, to the Sod. We're already in advanced stages over here. So, again, all the Parsha teachings, nothing is just from the simple text. You're getting it all. And as a result, you are not only, and this is very important, you are not only partaking in the drawing of the light, lekabel et ha'or, but you are assisting in distributing it as well, assuming that your vessel is clean to receive. Like I said, if there is even a residue of anything, of idolatry or New Testament, whatever you receive or whatever you think you might be receiving, either in this class or from anywhere else or studying on your own, is by default corrupt, and you cannot rely on whatever it is that you get or whatever that you think you get. Because I speak to some people and they are learning these things on their own. I don't want to be mean to people, but sometimes it's just like, really? That's where you're at? That's where you got from this? And it basically, all this is proven to me when I speak. Some people have no idea what they're doing, but then they're doing it and then they're trying to teach it to others. Anyway, the days. So again, just please do it properly. And again, questions, that's why I'm here. The days, as we see now, they're getting shorter and the work is piling up. There's so much work to do and new things keep on coming in. We are grateful for all those who seek the truth and have let go of everything, including their own beliefs or how you've been raised or that which you cannot let go of, to find the truth, because that is the only way you will ever hear that call. Forget about actually understanding any information that is given. Okay? You have to do this for yourself. You have to seek for yourself. You have to question. You have to study. You have to live your life to the best of your ability. I'm doing my best to answer everyone's emails. Please be patient with me. Thank you for all those who joined us, of course. There is more to come on this topic. Stick around for next week. For part 2 of the Secrets of Torah. This was going to be 1 class. It might be 2. It might even be 3, because there was so much explanation of how to the lenses that I need you to focus on. In any case, that's it for today. You guys take care now. Have a wonderful rest of the week and a Shabbat Shalom. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.